Hi friends, I'm Parvez from geekschoolers.com, and this is our fourth video in Python web development with Django. So in this video we're going to learn that how you can work with Django shells, and also we are going to learn that how you can do CRUD operations in your a database model. So right now, if you see, we have a question model, or we can say it a question table. And so if you see my SQLite database, I have ID, text, and also publication date for this model. Now the first thing is that there are two ways that you can add or you can insert data, or you can do CRUD operations. So the first way is that you can use the Django super user, or we can say Django administration panel. We'll learn about that in the next video. So the second way is that you can use Django Shell. So in this video particularly, we are going to use Django Shell, and it's like Python terminal, or we can say that it's Django console. It's interactive console for doing CRUD operations on your database model. So now let's start our topic. So now this is my PyCharm terminal, and let me just make this if I change the view mode to window, now you can see we have a separate window. Now the first thing you can first we need to just change the directory to my site, and now we can use python manage.py, and we can use shell. Now you can see that this is our shell in Django. So the first thing is that we want to add some data into our this question model. So we have text, and also we have publication date. And if you see our SQLite database in the data section, you can see right now we don't have any data in here. So now first we need to we can say that from pools. So this is our app name, from pools.models. So from the model file of our pools app, we want to import our question model. Now if you see Django documentation for making queries, you can see it's telling that once you have created your database models, Django automatically gives you a database abstraction API that lets you create, retrieve, update, and delete objects. Now this document explains how to use this API, and you can see that if you see in here, this we have some models in here in the example: blog model, author model, entry model, with some fields. And you can see that in the creating object, now to represent database table data in Python object, Django uses an intuitive system. A model class represents a database table. Now an instance of that class represents a particular record in the database table. Now if you see in here, we have created the instance of the blog. Now this, we can see that this is a particular record for a database table. Now for this, the first thing is that we need to create the instance of our question model, and after that we can add our data like text, and also like we have publication date, and after that we can just use save method for saving or inserting data into our database table. Now we can see that this perform an insert SQL statement behind the scenes. Django doesn't hit the database until you explicitly call the save method. Now let's just do this. So first we need to import our question. After that we need to create an instance of this question. So we can just say q question, and in here you can add, if you see our model in here, so the ID is auto incremented, and we don't need to add the ID. We have text, and we have publication date, pub date. So in here we can just say for the text, we can just say what is So what is, for example, Python class inheritance? And so before this, let me just first I need to import for the date time. So you can use date time, and here let me just use from Django dot utils. I want to import time zone, and now I need to create an instance of my question, or the object of the question, and we can add our text in here. Let me just say what is Python class inheritance, and now we can add pub date. So for the pub date, now we can simply use time zone. So time zone dot now. So now if you see q, you can see that we have a question object none. And now if I say q dot save, and if I check q, you can see that we have one object in here. And now our this record is saved. If you check your data, so right now you can see there is no data, and if we refresh this, we have the first data in here. You can see. Now let me just add another data. For example, we can just say q2 and question. We can add a text. For this we can just say what is Django model, and we can add a pub date. So time zone dot now, and now we can just say q2 dot save, and if we check q2, you can see we have question object 2, and now if I refresh my SQLite database, you can see that I have another data in here. Alright guys, now let's learn that how you can update the data using Django Shell. Now if you see the Django documentation, saving change to objects. To save change to an object that's already in the database, you can use save method. So now if you see in this example, you can see in here it's used, so b5 is the block instance, and you can just use the field name, and after that you can add your updated data in here. And at the end you need to just save your change. Now this performs an update statement behind the scenes, and Django doesn't hit the database until you explicitly call the save method. Now let me just show you how you can update. So for example, if you see my q2, so it's what is Django model, I want to update this record. So for this you can just use q2, and after that we want to update the text, and in here you need to add the updated data. So we can just say this is updated data, and after that we can just save our data. Now if you see refresh in here, you can see that it's updated, and in here we have this is updated data. Also you can retrieve the data. So first let me just add another data in here. So this is q2, for example. I want to add also another data, what is, for example, Django Shell, like this, and we can just say q2.save, and now if I refresh this, we have another data, what is Django Shell. Now for retrieving the data, if you see the documentation, so let me just come down. Now retrieving objects, to retrieve objects from your database, construct a query set via manager on your model class. Now a query set represents a collection of objects from your database, and it can have 0, 1 or many filters. So also you can use different filters. Now in here you can see that an SQL term, a query set equates to a select statement, and also a filter is a limiting class which such as where or limit. Now if we in here, if we see question dot objects, you can see that we have Django.db.models.manager, and in here in the node, it's telling that managers are accessible only via model classes, rather than from model instances. Now if we check this instance, we can just say q2.objects. You can see that we are receiving that manager isn't accessible via question instances. You can just access that using the model itself. Now there are different ways that you can do. For example, you can use all. If you see in here, if I come down, now retrieving all objects, the simplest way to retrieve objects from a table is to get all of them. So for that we can use the all method on a manager. Now we can just say that, for example, we can say data question dot objects dot all, and if we see data, you can see that we have question object 1, question object 2 and question object 3. Also you can use filter if you want. So using filter, you can filter a query set. Now we can just say filter q, so question dot objects dot filter, and there are different filters that you can use. For example, we are going to do this with publication date year, so the year is 2020, and if we check filter q, you can see that we have these data that are published in 2020. If I change this to, for example, 2019, and now if you check filter q, you can see that the query set is empty because we don't have any published data in this year. Also you can use another filter. Let me just create filter q. We can just use question dot objects dot filter, and this time we want to use text starts with what. Now if you see in here, we have two record that is starting with what, so what's Python class and what's Django Shell. So we want to filter this in here. And now if I check filter q, I should receive two records. So you can see that we have question object 1 and also question object 3. Also you can use get. So if you see the documentation for the Django, now retrieving a single object with get, if you want to get a single object, then you can use get method. So for example, we can just say one entry question dot objects dot get, and we can use primary key, so pk1. And if I check one entry, so you can see this is our question object 1, and I can say one entry dot text, so what is Python class, and one entry dot pub date. So you can see that this is the date time. Also you can delete a data. For example, I want to delete the q1 data, so I can just say q1 dot delete. So Q1 is not defined. So for I think Q1 is not defined, and let me just check in here. So we have, let me just remove Q2. So Q2 dot delete. So you can see now one record is deleted, and if I refresh, you can see that now we have two data in here. So like this you can work with Django shells. If you have any question, please let me know, and for the further videos, subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video. Also, you can check my website geekscoders.com for more information.